We have spent the first 30 minutes and, of course, a lot of time yesterday and even more later today and right now on the legacy and the man of the unique Mike Leach, former Texas Tech, Washington State, and Mississippi State head coach. And Chris Level put up a note that he may not be where he is today without Mike Leach in his life. And he, of course, does sidelines for Texas Tech football, men's basketball as well. Chris, I know this has been a long day and a tough day, but when you think of Mike Leach, what do you think of?
Yeah, it's I think that people, that they are going to focus on, and rightfully so, because it was never a dull moment when you were around Mike about the different, the rants, the comments, the funny just takes that he would have on just anything in life. He didn't want to necessarily be pinned down as a football coach, but I just, and I think that rightfully so, I think people are starting to realize what we've known around here for a long time is his coaching tree is just fascinating. And you look at, but I think when I think of him, I think that he probably never got enough credit for the way he changed the sport. How it's played at the high school level in this state, how, the Big 12 changed offensively there for a long period of time, and some of that is spilled into the NFL with just slot receivers and just his offensive philosophy. And I just there's so many, and you're seeing it today, but how many people were affected or directly or indirectly by just him and his involvement, and how many interactions the people would have from him because he treated, the custodian the same way as he did, a player or whatever. And you maybe didn't agree with the way he did things at times. People didn't, but he always did it his way. And that's what I always respected the most.
Chris, obviously it was very strange how it ended for him at Texas Tech. And I know that, and I'm sure you hear this even still today, that people are still mad about it, fans that didn't think he should have been dismissed. Do you think that people will carry that torch for Mike Leach forever in Lubbock?
Yeah, I don't want to get into all that today. That's not. I mean, I don't. The way it ended is not what I guess choose to really remember. I think there's just people. I think this fan base was touched. I think he gave this program and a city an identity. When you saw the double T logo, I think you thought of throwing the football, and you think of what people call the air raid offense, which really wasn't even anything he called it. It was just something that they came up with, and and it was unfortunate. And I was around Mike last year in Memphis when Tech played in the bowl game there against the Bulldogs. And I mean, there's a lot of blame to pass around there on that deal. And I guess I just choose not to focus on that today.
What were your kind of initial reactions with Mike Leach, the getting to know part of the process and the relationship?
Yeah, well, I mean, we were in the we got to host his coach's show midway through his tenure here, and that was and he was the same. He didn't really respect the headset, if that makes sense, because he just he didn't care whether you're in a commercial break or whether like you hear bumper music or what. He just doing his thing, and and that was what was normal. And I'm just kind of learning and getting into this thing, and he never took himself too serious from that standpoint. And again, he's very opinionated, very stubborn, but very one of the smartest people you'd ever be around. And like I said, we would host his coach's show. Here you're hosting the Texas Tech football coach's show, right? And you're going to talk about the team and the game, the upcoming game, whatever. And there was just times where he just wanted to get on there, and that was the last thing he wanted to talk about was football. What books we reading? What kind of enchiladas did you just have the other night? I mean, just whatever it may have been, and that was normal. And that was the fun part. And I didn't know any different at the time, but we were around his kind of funny clips and rants and stuff all the time, and that was before social media and Twitter, and we would start to see some of these things go viral, I guess, and we're like, man, why does everybody think that's so funny? This is like a daily occurrence around here. So and I mean, I got many a call from him at 2 a.m. You get many call from him at on Christmas morning, just random, but that was who he was. And he just wanted to call and chat, and you're trying to get off the phone with him sometimes, and he's just getting started. So that's just who the guy was, man. I mean, it was just what a treasure.
You put up on Twitter earlier today, part of it was, not sure I'm doing what I do. If not for him, I owe him a lot.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's okay, man. We're talking to Chris Level, Texas Tech sideline reporter, men's basketball, who's been covering Tech for a long, long time.
Yeah, I mean, I just my career in this business started right when he got here, and so I apologize for getting upset, guys. It's just
no need to apologize at all.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
good.
He trusted me, in this business. That's what relationships are. That's what it's all about. You go to work with these people, and you see them at their best and at their worst, and you build real relationships with people. And yeah, my relationship with him was very real, and I owe him a great deal. So sorry about that,
Chris. It's normal and natural, man. We appreciate you, and I know it's been a long, long day. I really do, and we appreciate you, man.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me on, and I appreciate you guys talking about it.
Yeah. Good luck, man. I know you got a game tonight. That's Chris Level.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
I think that just encapsulates, I think, how most people feel about him. And I think he was just so different and unique. And there is a lot of times where in this business we don't get to know the people we cover on any kind of personal level, and it feels very strange. I always kind of felt that way about when I cover the Cowboys, because everything is so antiseptic, right? And that's fine. I get why they have to do it that way, and there's so much demand, and you're there. So like when you get those little moments to like sit down and talk to a coach or sit down and talk to a player, and just not talk about like, hey, third down in the Texas game, this happened. You just talk about things, and then when you can have that kind of relationship, it just makes it so much different, And we've gotten to do that here with a lot of the coaches, and it allows you to cover them in a different manner where you can still be critical, but you also kind of understand a little bit better. And not every coach lets you do that, and Coach Leach pretty much let everybody in the world do that, and it meant so much. And you hear in Chris's emotions there what it meant to, especially early on in the business, have a coach treat you like a human being, because sometimes that relationship can be so transactional that you never really, I don't feel like a normal person talking to you, and you don't feel like a normal person talking to me, because again, this relationship is transactional and not personal. And that's something that Mike Leach, really certainly did not believe in, was transactional relationships.
Yeah, I mean, don't blame Chris at all for being emotional. I think a lot of people are today, because again, it's obvious, as we've stated repeatedly, how much influence and how many relationships he had, all across the country and all across the sport of football, and in particular college football. And as Chris mentioned, his start around the time that Leach was starting, that's early Leach. That's not like the guy who we've seen the last few years. That's like young baby face Mike Leach, fresh off of being on the Oklahoma staff for a brief stint, and then, getting into the thick of, those 2000s Big 12 races, where, the air raid was just people losing their minds over what Texas Tech was doing. But, Oklahoma was so good and Texas was so good. And just those, I think those Big 12 battles. And, he came in and made a impact, and it was a lasting impact, and then went on and did that elsewhere. In other places, and most recently Mississippi State. But I can imagine for Chris. I mean, Chris talking that's 2000. Like what? When did he first get to Tech? 2005-ish.
Just right after Oklahoma. Yeah.
2002. 2002. Like, I mean, that's 20 years ago. How old's Chris? Probably what, 50s, maybe 40s?
Maybe less than that. Yeah.
Okay, so he was what, 20, 30 when he met Mike Leach,
Very
you know,
impressionable time.
Oh yeah, and to be able to, you know, I mean, I know for me, like the first time I met like a college football coach, was like, wow, like he knows you know. Then you get older and you get used to it, and you're like, wow, you're just like me. Like there's not really a difference other than your job title and, you know, the way you're viewed maybe publicly because you're in a big role.